meat to send home to we had no grocery stores. So the smoked meat didn't spoil. And
right.
So you smoke the meat to send it home with the families in the north, so that when they up there, they can eat in the wintertime, and it reduced our need to have to hunt in the north. And they normally did this to, like, they send a apprentice child from New Orleans to Chicago, and he had end up setting the family up there. When he go home to the family farm to get his food for the winter, right? And that's to make sure that the family fed. We didn't have no grocery stores.
That makes sense, bro. Hey, that
grocery
makes sense.
Stores
I heard Chief Warhorse say that that we used to take over here. We used to our refrigerators. We had outdoor refrigerators that were made from the waterfalls. That we used to take our meat and buffalo meat and hang it up behind the waterfall, and that would keep it cool during the hot times where the meat would stay cool. And then and they actually turned these places that where we had that into forts, military forts, because they starved us out. That was part.
There was one right next to Port Nola.
Go ahead.
Port Nola was like, because we was sending food from there to the islands, right? Because our big mama used to send the island big mamas care packages when the family would take trips down there. We would go to Jamaica, just like people get married. Oh man, what you want to do for your honeymoon? I want to go to Jamaica. We was doing that back then, but we didn't go so disrespectful. We came bearing gifts. And then the people in the island would send us back home with gifts for our big mama. Take big mama this. All of the stuff we don't make up here. She might give her a year's supply of plantain pies. We don't grow plantains up here. You know, but it was a courtesy in the communication across tribes that was cut off by the wars of colonization. That's why we never had wars with each other over here. If we had a problem, run that fade, nigga. From the chief to the brave, run that fade. I'm not finna bring my whole family and get them in this, and you ain't finna bring yours either. That's disrespectful on either one of our half. Now they drag the whole family in it. Hatfields and McCoys in this mofo.
Now, another thing about the reverse theory and how they reversed our culture. Now, we had certain things that were considered not over here as evil, like the serpent. Other animals, like the serpent, they got that labeled as evil. But it's different things that, like even the black cat, it's different things that they got, and they reversed it around to even certain, like the cultural things that we did. What was the benefits of them reversing our good stuff that we did to now we won't even mess with it? Like certain things, like
right. So that's a psychological tactic to place a barrier of fear where you don't want somebody to go. The barrier of fear is given in the words of deliberate misinterpretation of the meaning of a thing. If you can get the person to think that something that's empowering is evil, they perpetually refuse to empower themselves by the method designed by their own. And the church is the number one source of the fear campaign of the tribal cultures by calling all of the tribal cultures evil. Right? That's because if you go back to your culture, that which the church sees as evil will allow you to live. Right? So they separate you from your culture and give you a false identity. Now you suffering from an identity crisis trying to assimilate an uncomfortable identity. By accepting what they told you is the truth without investigation or examination. No critical thinking applied. Blind faith. Once you accept the misidentification, you become misidentified within your own self. The whole goal is to get you to put the spell on yourself so they don't suffer the the consequences of the karma.
Right. So people like our doctors, like Dr. Sabi, he got labeled as a witch doctor under the Spanish Inquisition. He a witch. But then they doctor like Dr. Fauci, he can go on and say all this stuff and giggle and laugh.
He's a scientist.
Yeah, he a scientist. He know what he talking about. You know what I'm saying? If you speak out against him, you know, you going down. You going down.
Right. Because Dr. Sabi primarily taught by word of mouth. Oral tradition, education passed directly from the mouth of the master to his prime students. The exceptional student is the student that don't sit up under the feet of the master and just watch the students learn and also pick up the information as the wisdom roll from the mouth of the master. Normally the master's a mother.
So how do we reverse, how do we start to reverse all of this? I got my ideas, but what's your perspective on how we start to reverse this with the children? Because we got to cut this off right now. All the lies that they told us, Christopher Columbus discovered America, we this and that, y'all from, and then look, even if we try to go out of space, you know what, we got tired of it. We say, you know what, we tired of y'all, everywhere we go, y'all got to make us black. So we would, you know, as black Nubians, we're going to get the hell out of here and go out of space. You know what they told us? They said, before you go out of space, you got to be black, extraterrestrials. Now, you can't go out of space without being black. They got to put something, they black on us. They got a black asses.
I don't know if they told them that or not. But I do know that melanin is an asset when you outside of the atmosphere of the earth.
Go ahead.
Right. And there's also unmelanated beings that come from outside of the earth. Now, everybody can't get through the Van Allen belt. Exit or entry. That's called a Pleiadian light lock. It's a conjure from the Galactic Council to trap those at war in the confines of the war zone. This is what they keep calling the firmament in the dome. But it's just a radiation barrier, and the radiation is so thick, as soon as you hit it, it's an instant reaction. Right? And it's a light conjure using beams and rays of light at angles and octaves that the Pleiadians is the masters of. Right? And then the Arcturians is giving them an energetic support. So they the ones that got us locked in the matrix to solve the problems of the matrix. So we come in, we like a computer virus repair program into the matrix to repair the damage done in the matrix by a virus. The virus in this case is those who don't belong here. So as the antibodies of Earth, the Earthborn formulate a plan and establish a system in order to reclaim Earth from whatever the threat is. The T cells that organizes the immune responses and tell the white cells what to attack, right? As the foreign agent. Now, the T cells are also called the generals of the immune system. So now we're talking warfare on Earth played out like an antibody response in the body. Comparative analysis, as above, so below, as within, so without. You can see it play out in the stars, on the Earth, or in the body. But you have to know how to read the signs in order to translate it and do the comparative analysis to see two things that you originally thought was totally unrelated was directly connected. Because you didn't know how to flip the mirror and see it. The mirror is where they got us disoriented at. They gave us south and told us it was down, and they gave us north and told us it was up, and it's exactly the opposite. They used the pole shift phenomenon in order to shake us up and confuse us like we spinning on the top. right? Once you start looking at south as down, your orientation is in the opposite direction of its intended purpose, right? They want you to keep looking at the sky so you can't never understand what you're seeing on the ground. So you focus on what's in front of you before you start looking up for answers.
And that makes sense, Rod, because they told when they came, when these black conquistadors came with their Roman Catholic Christianity, they told us we'll get our pie in the sky. And really, our pie is in the reverse. Our pie is really down here, because if we could get our pie in the sky, why would the Anunnakis come down from the sky, coming down to get some pie? They came here to get the pie. They came here looking for gold. So so why we got to go in the sky to get our pie when they came here looking for pie?
It's an inversion principle, right? If hell is hot, right, and they got you looking for your pie in the sky, they sending you to the sun, right? Because they don't want you to turn back to mama, because she gonna nurture you and nurse you back to health. No matter how old you is or how sick you be, if she here, she gonna nurse you. This goes back to the symbolism of the Black Madonna and child, the mother holding the child, the son. He's the crown prince. And she's the nurturer who's going to nurture him and teach him everything he need to know how to reclaim the throne by learning how to read what his uncle did and what his daddy did and the difference in the two by comparative analysis.
Hey, now that makes sense, because now this is another thing. This probably be off talking, but people was asking questions about this. Some dude was saying about government look like it's still in business as usual. When we touched on this a little bit about how they using the wag the dog thing at the Tyler Perry studios. Could you talk just a little bit on that? Because I got a whole bunch of questions on that recently, even after we did the show talking about it a little bit. About them doing the reenactment.
If you call somebody in DC that goes down around them buildings and ask them if they all fenced in. They've been fenced in since 2020. They're not using them buildings, and construction's been going on at the Capitol building. So they're not having Senate hearings there. And they have sets, Hollywood sets. You can find these images on Google where you can see through the crack in the wall outside, right? When you look through Joe Biden's window, it's not the scenery that you would see from any of the other White House pictures. It's got props behind it. We gotta pay attention to them little subtleties, tell you that they in studios. They even have video where the camera is drawing back from them and you can see the stage information at the top of the set. They deliberately make those mistakes so they can absolve themselves and say they should have knew it was fake. We gave them every opportunity. We changed Joe Biden at least 12 times in their face and they never noticed it. We've used multiple actors, Jim Carrey, James Woods, Liam Neeson. We didn't use a whole bunch of different ones. We even used one that was damn near 7 feet tall and they still didn't notice. None of them look like Joe Biden did in 2016. None of them got that tattoo on their left arm. Come on, man. They play too much.
Yeah, they really starting to lose their footage, man, on people like running these games and this magical illusion on people. People saying, man, people seeing right through this stuff now. It seems like, especially the kids. Hey, this is my next question I got for you. Now, I saw a guy, man, driving the other day, and then I get up on side of him, and he got his steering wheel on the other side, and them cars that come from over there, they drive on the other side, the white side, right? And we drive on the left over here. And I noticed that even the language that is reversed over here, than it is over there. Do you think that the language was the way it is now, going left to right, or left? Which one was first, or was it both? Dealing with the polarities of the hemispheres of the planet, or the hemispheres of the brain? Is that got something to do with it? Could you go in on that, the language thing?
Yeah, so you know what the prime meridian is, right?
Go
Also
ahead.
known as the international date line,
Go ahead.
right? That's what's called the division point. Remember, when the hieroglyphics can be read right to left to right, top to bottom, bottom to top. That means they can tell you a story from every different angle. When they reduced the hieroglyphics to letter writing, the letters was charged with a frequency, a number, and a musical note, right? And a color. And then now you see that no matter what language, when you go to one side of the prime meridian, they reading from right to left. And when you go to the other side, they reading left to right. That's generalization because you do have right to left on both sides of the prime meridian, but the primary largest number is separated by that line, which is the confounding of the languages so that the people can't come together and solve the problems of Earth. Earth is the original heaven. When they be describing heaven, they be describing Earth before the wars. That's where they get the whole heavenly description from. And heaven just means a haven, a safe place, right? And then the safe place was always nurtured by the angels, the mothers, the aunties, the big mamas, the nanas, right? The TT. They all work together in harmony, right? And this was the great disruption of the family to break that sisterhood up so they can impose debauchery and wickedness across the planet. And the only way you can do that is by usurping and villainizing the feminine. Right? So we come in as see, that's what my daddy was like.
So she knew. She
But
knew.
I was only like maybe about 6 or 7 years old. So I
Yeah.
don't know what she's talking about. Right? And then they have this butter. It's called Land O'Lakes.
That's my mom's favorite butter.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
pointed to the lady because there used to be a lady sitting on the lake with the sun
That's
shining
right.
on her. And
That's
she's
right.
like, now my mama was like this.
Oh my God.
She told me. I didn't know what she was talking about. I'm like, shorty, I don't know what
Yeah.
she's talking about.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, the early childhood, the parents is teaching you critical information in what they call an off the cuff statement. Most people let that stuff go.
Mhm.
Right. When I asked my father if we was from Africa, he said, I don't know where I'm from.
He didn't have any
You know,
connection. Yeah.
yeah, but he knew his mama is native, so he knew.
Yeah. Well,
And he used to tell us about his grandmama who was a native who had hair down to her ankles.
that's right. That's
That's
right.
that's a status symbol in the tribes.
It is. You don't
They don't
cut.
just let their hair grow down there like to their ankles like that unless you got a certain rank.
That's right. Because
And then
hair is a frequency. It picks up frequencies. It's an antenna. Yeah.
so my mama had this thing where she hated all the girls in the family to cut their hair because she felt like they was diminishing their rank.
That's deep.
And then like my sister cut her hair, my mama had a fit. And she didn't understand it. She still don't understand it because
Yeah.
she still see the world out of Western eyes.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's the
know,
social, yeah, that's the social conditioning that, they purposefully did, especially in the Americas to all the people. Because when I look at you, I come from the crowd of it's really the Caribbean, and we kind of stayed stationed in South America and the Caribbean. But you look like when my girls, I show my girls you, and they said you look like Papa. You look like my dad and my dad's kin. So that's the Taino side. And because we are cousins, because from North America, all of us interfaced with each other, married within each other's family shared a lot of things from Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, all the way down into the Caribbean, Haiti, Cuba, islands. We all have, that's why we look similar, because we're all from the Americas.
yeah.
So, we had an awareness of who we were, and we had an awareness of who y'all were. That was never
Yeah.
hidden in our culture. Yeah.
You know, I used to tell people, and they think I'm crazy and or that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I used to say our big mamas on the mainland used to send the big mamas on the islands food stuff from the islands that they didn't grow. And they send us the stuff from the islands that we didn't. And that was a common practice
It was.
because they always sent delegations, right? It sent a delegation to Puerto Rico. Well, now it's Puerto Rico
Yeah.
and
La
Haiti,
Hispaniola, which is
Dominica,
Haiti and Dominican
yeah,
Republic. Yeah.
Cuba. So they was because they have different growing um fruits and
That's
vegetables
right.
from the islands that's different from the mainland. The only common denominator from the bottom of South America to the North Pole is corn.
That's true. That's true.
Everybody
Yeah.
participated in the corn
And the
festivals.
maize, the maize.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Different
Yeah.
kinds. Like the heirloom corn has the purple, some have the white, the purple, white, and the red. Not that geo-engineered corn that is, what they
Yeah.
give to us here in the States. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we used to have corn festivals in the Southwest. We had barbecue festivals all through from Louisiana to what's called
Right.
Florida. What they call Juneteenth, that ain't got nothing to do with the emancipation of slaves. That's a big bald-faced lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Juneteenth was the barbecue festival season. That's why it doesn't have a specific date because it took up the middle of June, the teen days.
I
Got
didn't,
nothing.
I
If you
don't,
go back to the
yeah.
stories say that somebody rode into Texas and told them that the slaves was free. The problem with that is there wasn't slavery in Texas at that time. That was Mexico.
Mm, that's right. Ooh, yes, your historical facts. Yes, exactly.
So why? And then we was when they was taking our family farms and putting us in captivity on the family farms and rebranding them as plantation and took mama out of big mama house and call it the big house. We
Mhm.
wouldn't participate. We would leave, and everybody didn't go north. The majority of us went southwest.
You're right. You're right.
Now, if you go to like if somebody go to Google right now that's watching and they don't know what I'm talking about, all they got to do is type Afro Mexican.
That's right. That's right.
Right? We was already there though, because
We
what
were.
you know is
Yeah.
what we told our Aztec, Incas, and Mayans and Olmecs, them was the old Mississippians by another name.
Go ahead,
Same
Rob.
tribe. The biggest tribe on the land was the old Mississippians. This is the parent tribe to your 5 civilized tribes, your Washita nations, your Iroquois nations, your Hopi, your Cheyenne. All of
Right.
these different tribes are offshoots of the old Mississippi. That's the root tribe to the land,
That's right. And we share blood.
right?
There's a blood type that's shared amongst those people as well. That
Yeah.
references that. That's fact. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
now on the East Coast, we had ships that sailed back and forth between what we call now the motherland and the Americas. And
Hmm.
for blood diversification reasons, so we don't have birth defects, we intermarried with the royal families on that continent over here. This long before Columbus was even a gleam in his daddy eye. His daddy probably wasn't even born. And we was doing this. Matter of fact, his 7th great grandfather, twice removed, probably wasn't born, and we was doing this. In the BC
Absolutely.
period, we was sailing ships on the East Coast, making trade with Africa. The original Navy was the Mississippian Guard that guarded the Mississippi River and the Gulf.
Mm.
We don't know that because we think that we was just some savages because that's what they told us, and we have no capabilities of construction, but we got castles that they didn't converted into state buildings and prisons all over the land,
Yeah. And
and
also,
they all before Columbus.
yeah, and the Moors had technology beyond anything that Europe had ever saw. A lot of that European technology came after they were exposed to the Moors, right? And the Moors
Well,
were the ones who,
that's who we've been fighting for the last 400 years, 500 years,
absolutely, absolutely.
because the
And
the
they're
ones in
separated.
Europe, yeah, the ones that's in Europe, right? The ones that was in Europe that came from the Babylonian Empire. Now,
Mm,
they made converts out of some people called Khazars
that's right.
and some people that was called Sephardi.
Yep. The
If you
Sephardic
look in
and
the
Khazars.
12 tribes of Israel, there is no tribe called Khazar,
No,
Ashkenaz, or Sephardi.
they're
Those are
converts.
converts.
They're converts. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now, the
For
reason they
tax reasons,
use
for
them,
political reasons. Yeah.
that's called the blood shield to conceal the actual power players behind the scenes.
Hmm.
That's where you get your term Rothschild from. Blood shield, the protectors of the Holy Grail lines. But the Holy Grail line is not Jewish. The Holy Grail line is the earthborn, the Idama.
Well, Jewish didn't exist. J didn't exist. There was no J.
Right,
Anything J-E, like Jesus, Jewish, it wasn't in the language at the time. That's further down the line. Yeah.
right. And then they wasn't called Israelis either.
No.
That's the irony,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Israel didn't exist until
Yeah. It
1948.
was
So you
Palestine.
wasn't calling them Israelis.
No. That was a colonized term created by the Rothschilds. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was all Zionist propaganda for domination and global conquest. When they came over here, they had a standing order to not approach the Americas, and they violated it. And that's why
Yep.
they end up sending Columbus over here. Columbus didn't come over here looking for a new trade route. He was looking for a homeland for the exiles from the Spanish Inquisition and the French
Mm.
Revolution, right? So they getting kicked out of Europe in mass. They they got a stopover point in the north of Africa called Al Maghrib. Today we know it as Morocco,
Morocco.
Libya,
Yeah.
Tunis, right, all the way up to the border of what we call today modern Egypt.
That's why they called America at one point the capital was Morocco because of that connection.
Right, but really what they was talking about, they're not talking about Morocco. Morocco has not been a country but less than like 100 years,
Yeah, it's new.
right? So who was the ancient Moroccans if Morocco didn't exist in ancient times? See, people don't like to talk about that. They get offended because they've been trapped in the dogmatic web of religion. But the reality of it is this was called the land of Tahuti. Europe and Asia was the land of Isis.
Yes.
Africa and part of southern India was called the Ethiop, or became later known as Ethiopia, which was the land of Prince Ea, commonly known as Enki. It was three major regions of the earth during the time of Atlantis. The tribes over here, we didn't care what they did on their own land. They ain't got nothing to do with us over here until they tried to impose their will on us.
Absolutely.
And then they conjured my ass up. And here I am.
Resurrected in the times of the reset. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's kind of fast forward in that. Your mind, like your historical like references is like stellar. Like, usually, you get to people and generally they have bits and pieces. You have the full catalog, like from beginning to end, which is nice. It's refreshing. It's refreshing. You're teaching me some things, which is nice. I like to be taught sometimes, you know what I mean? Get some information that like makes my brain like go tweak, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Standing
let's
on the
kind of,
shoulder of giants, Floor.
what'd you say?
I'm standing on the shoulder of giants.
You are. You are. Um, let's kind of move on to the Americas and how, over the last couple of hundred of years, how things have changed. But, we were kind of bringing in this new, I don't think it's new. We were talking about like, we're bringing a little bit of that galactic. I don't want to even say galactic because it's kind of generic, right? It's really just an interdimensional kind of energy and beings that are connected to each of the realms, right? So when I talked about when you first came in, before I even spoke to you, and energy with me comes first before I even talk to you. And I speak about months ago being connected to beings that were gorillas, ape type beings, right? And during my contact, they came and I was kind of like feeling this ape type energy. And when I was in Brazil living for a bit, I talk about when I was in the jungle, I stayed in the jungle in the middle, you know, in a home in the jungle. And the monkeys, moquecas, would not come towards me. They were frightened of me. They wouldn't come and approach me. They wouldn't touch me. They would run away. They didn't come near the house. And we were dumbfounded. So we figured it was that part of Brazil. So we went to another part of Brazil. It's the same thing. Fast forward now, I realized after I had contact with the gorillas, the ape, the Kong beings, which I know you're connected to, when they came with a little bit of like technology attached to them, almost like the movie. And I found
Yep.
that really interesting. Before I saw the movie, I saw a bit of remnants, meaning that they had some technology that was beyond my comprehension, because they always make it seem like monkeys are remedial, you know, savages, like just some sub-tier group. But it's far from that. And I realized the one monkey that others have reverence to and a little bit of fear of is the gorilla, the Kong being. And because I didn't had some interface with these beings, the moqueca, the monkey in Brazil, I had that energy and they're frightened of that. And it's not really frightened, they just have an understanding that whatever I'm connected to has a little more strength and reverence, and they just kind of keep a distance from that. So with you, because again, it came in a wave with you. It was interesting. It was all night. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I didn't realize it until it happened. I was like, oh Lord. The algorithm on my phone was like gorillas, monkeys, like big things, big mouths. Over there. I was like, oh, that's right. Okay. And I asked you some questions before to ask you, because I'm always interested in your Chinese astrology. And you let me know that your Chinese zodiac is a monkey. Okay. So
Yep.
you already carrying that energy on you, along with a little bit of, well, a lot of that Scorpion, Scorpion King energy as well. Um, so I want to kind of touch on that a little bit because I was fascinated and I really want to know your take on it. I'm really curious. And I told you I have a curiosity and I've never really talked to you before. So I get to ask you all the fun questions that I only want to ask you. So,
Okay.
so when we're thinking about the monkey, the gorilla beings, the Hunan, which is really the Hindu god, the gorilla god. Can you give us a little information on that god? Because that is something that's here. It's always been here. And I want to kind of touch that with you and then talk about some things that are going on that I think is coming in the field that has to do with those beings.
Okay, so the gorilla key is called the primate key. In every major landmass where there's a river basin force is called a Congo region. In South America, it's the Amazon. In North America, it's the Mississippi. In Africa, it's the Nile, and it's another river called the Zambezi, I think, that has a Congo basin, right? This is the